What's up, guys? This is Jay from COI. Um, so I have to let you guys know that I am a vape shop owner. I got into vaping because it stopped me from smoking cigarettes. I smoked Marlboro Reds for about 10 years of my life, way too long. I had just kind of come to grips with the fact that I would end up dying of lung cancer. And I was like 28 when I realized that I was just gonna die of lung cancer. It's a really young age to be like, man, I give up. I'm throwing in the towel. And then I tried vaping, and vaping was the only thing that worked for me. I tried the patches, I tried the gum, hypnosis. My doctor said sticking a finger up my butt would help. That didn't help. Even the weekly visits I made. No, I tried everything, and nothing helped. But but vaping did. And so I became really passionate about vaping, and to the point that I went to my father and I asked him for a small loan of $1 million. No, no, I'm kidding. Unfortunately, I had to have my dad put up his Jeep as collateral for a loan, and I bought a business. I was lucky enough to have a father who had a good credit and had a Jeep he was willing to put up. So I bought my own store, and it has been crazy since I purchased it. And today was arguably one of those days that gave me a heart attack like none other. I woke up to see flavor ban everywhere. Federal flavor ban. Trump signs it, signs this bill in, and yeah, I'm reading through articles, and as I'm reading, my breath is becoming harder to get out of my lungs and harder to get it back in. Uh, just the panic is ensuing. I mean, it's more than the fact that not only am my family is now in debt, my dad could lose his vehicle, my business is gone, and probably going back to cigarettes. Um, when you're in your mid 30s and you have a second child on the way, and this is how you start your 2020, it's not a solid day. But I got to read further and closer into this, and I found out that this flavor ban is actually going to only affect pod systems and the cartridges, and that's fantastic, really. I know it's harsh for some people, but it still gives us options. If you were a person who used the Enjoy or the Jewel or any of them, you can still go to a sub-ohm device. You can still go to a tank system, a refillable device. And in fact, there's many refillable devices that still look like pod systems. You just put in your own juice. Um, and those I think are going to be sketchy. I don't know how long they're going to stay because I know a lot of it for them is about how easy it is to hide them. And look, that's fine. If everyone has to walk around with a grenade looking thing in their hand so that we can still vape, I'll take it. I mean, there's many um, things I'm willing to cave in on when it comes to vaping, as long as I can still vape and still provide that for the community. So I got to reading more and more into it, and you guys know me. I mean, I'm a Bernie Sanders progressive, but I have to say this: we all should probably give Trump a little bit of love today. Hashtag thanks Trump for saving people. Honestly, people. Because there'd be a lot of people that would go back to smoking cigarettes. And one thing a lot that people don't talk about is there's over 144,000 people a year that die of smoking related incidences every year. Heart disease, lung cancer, stroke, you name it. And smoking has gone down because of vaping. But all of these people would go back to it. And Trump, with his mighty marker, he could have eradicated vaping today if he wanted to, but he didn't. And he even said he didn't want to destroy the industry. That's pretty remarkable. He deserves a little bit of love. It's good to have him in our pocket anyway. I mean, and he eats attention up. I mean, and so the next time something like this could happen, and mind you, I own a vape shop. I didn't know this was going to happen. I mean, I heard rumor yesterday, but I didn't know to what extent. Um, so this can pop up anytime as they're going to decide to do something else. But we would like, we kind of want Trump on our side in this fight. So, um, you know, you probably, even if you're an anti-Trump person, and let's say you're um, someone of Latinx descent like myself, and he's caging up our kids, and he's giving all the corporate welfare to the rich, and blah blah blah. Yeah, still give him a thanks though. I mean, you have to give credit where it's due. And I unfortunately believe that if we would had Hillary Clinton in office, this would all be banned. It would have happened in a very sweeping manner. It's that nanny state Democrat, I mean, because they're all elitists, left, right, they're all elitists. But the Dems feel like we can't think for ourselves in a lot of ways, and you would have definitely seen that with Hillary Clinton. It would have been, you know, we pay for wars overseas, we pay for large bailouts, we pay for the corporations to stay wealthy, but they want to regulate our sex, drugs, and heavy metal. You know what I mean? And that's the way it breaks down a lot, and it shouldn't. So yeah, I mean we should say thank you to Trump today. He potentially saved thousands of lives, and that's pretty crazy to think about that. And I know that there's a lot of people who are going to say, yeah, but these pod devices, they were marketed to get people off cigarettes. And you're 100% right. But you know what? We still have other tools, and we can still use them. We can still purchase them, and it's the same stuff a lot of us used to get off of them. So there's definitely that. One thing though I will say about this whole story is I don't think this had anything to do with the teens. I don't really think this had much to do with vaping in general. I think Trump was he cornered himself. He did this like with guns. Remember after all those mass shootings that happened? Yeah, I know which ones. Yeah, but over the summer there was a few that got a lot of publicity. And he said, "I'm going to go in and I'm going to tighten up regulations on guns." Then he met with the NRA and he came out and he was like, "Nope, we're good. Don't worry about it." He kind of did the same thing with vaping. Once the lung illness thing happened, he reacted, and his wife also reacted, and it was like, hey, we have to do something about it. So he cornered himself, and he then had to legislate himself out of this. But in that time, the CEO from Juul kind of became buddy buddy with Trump, and Juul, they took all of their flavors off the market. All they had was tobacco, mint, and menthol. And you could see a lot of times where the CEO from Juul was hanging out at like Mar-a-Lago. Anytime that there was vape questions presented to Trump, he would a lot of times have the CEO from Juul come. And so cut to today, and we have this legislation being done. And the media is propping it up as this giant epidemic, which I would love to hear their idea of what an epidemic is, because about 8% of teens use um, nicotine, vaping to be specific. That's not an epidemic, um, especially when you compare it to numbers like 34% of teenagers aggressively use caffeine, which is like shotgunning Red Bulls and stuff. By the way, that's really not good for you, just the same as using nicotine. Um, but, they don't really talk about that as much. We have no evidence to say what vaping does to us in the future, good or bad. But they keep targeting on the fact that this is the worst epidemic, in fact, is what they said. But yeah, not by, I mean, that's incredibly anecdotal because when you compare it to anything like caffeine or the The age-old alcohol. The numbers are way higher in those things. But let's not talk about that. Sugar, for God's sakes. Sugar is worse than all of this. That's fine though. It's socially acceptable. It's fine that we all have diabetes and our teeth fall out, and yeah, no worries. Be fine. Um, but so this article that I was reading from the LA Times did point out that this new bill is going to kind of help out Juul. And so I'll read this part to you. I'll uh, I'll include the part about how those of us who use tanks are going to be fine. So let's see. The new ban does not extend to refillable tank-based vaping systems purchased in most vape shops, which users can fill with flavored e-liquid. It also excludes menthol-flavored cartridges. Together, the two exemptions present a major retreat from an earlier White House plan to bar all flavors other than tobacco. The new policy will also leave Juul, the leading e-cigarette among teens, largely untouched. The company suspended nationwide sales of sweet flavors like mango, cucumber, and October, then added mint to the list in November. It still sells menthol pods. In fact, the ban on sweet flavored pods sold by smaller manufacturers could actually benefit Juul by eliminating competition in the e-cigarette industry. So, there we go. That breaks it down pretty much perfect. I don't know if I actually specifically said that those of us who use tanks and drippers and everything, we're gonna be fine. This doesn't affect us. We can still buy juice at our local shop. We're good. It's all the pods and cartridges that are affected. Um, but one thing that did catch my attention, and no, it's not what you're gonna think it is. It's not the fact that this bill helps Juul, because that is of note. But let's be honest, if LA Times could catch it, so could anyone else. That's probably an already um, it's already a theory going out, and I would be pretty lazy if that's what I made my video on, is something that LA Times reported. uh, it goes further than that, because let me read this again and understand and go into this with the guys that this is a epidemic, and we have to figure out something to stop these kids from vaping. To put that in your mind, let me read this again. The new policy will leave Juul, the leading e-cigarette among teens, largely untouched. The company suspended nationwide sales of sweet flavors like mango and cucumber in October. That right there, that sentence right there, it says Juul is the most popular amongst teenagers to this day. Juul took their flavors off their shelves in October. So we have a small little sample of a test here. If it was the flavors that are the problem, then why is Juul the most popular amongst teens? I thought we were trying to get this out of teens' hands. We can see right here from this little 3-month section here that it didn't change anything. The flavors are not the problem. It's going to change nothing. They probably go to Juul because it's easiest to get. It's the one that they can find easier. And in fact, a lot of them probably don't even use Juul. They probably just say it's Juul because it's some knockoff thing they got from China. They ordered and picked it up while their parents weren't home. My whole point is this has nothing to do with the flavors. In fact, the flavor ban won't help. It's not going to make a damn bit of difference. But what it does do is help the CEO, and it helps the Juul company because it levels the playing field in their competition. And I think that's what this whole thing was about. It sent a lot of vapors and a lot of advocates up in a tizzy, but it really meant nothing. I will also say this, as this is getting along, and I haven't heard a better argument for this, and it's something that I've been saying for a long time. If tobacco use and nicotine use is an epidemic that needs to be fixed, and if the biggest problem is that vaping will lead to cigarette smoking, why don't we ban cigarettes? Why are we having this conversation about devices that help you stop smoking, or that filter out a lot of carcinogens simply by not being present. Why are we having this argument about these things? Why are we not attacking cigarettes? Kids have always smoked. Kids will continue to always smoke. When you say it's the flavors, well, then why do you make an exemption when it comes to alcohol? And why aren't they saying we need to take cotton candy vodka off the shelves? It's only when it comes to vaping. My reasoning is I believe that it's unregulated. It's an untapped source. It's too much power for people to have to be able to pick up and do their own thing. It's like marijuana. They want to legalize it, but only if they let you sell it. You can't sell your own stuff. It's not fair. It gives you too much chance for upward mobility, and they don't want us to do that. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot. I apologize for how long this is. I had to rant and rave, but thanks a lot. You have a great evening.